Okay, I want to welcome everyone to today's working session of the Rockland Board of Sewer Commissioners. This meeting is being taped for playback later on YouTube. Public comment may be allowed at this, but restricted to the subject matter of the agenda or the statement. The agenda is as published. Some items may be added as permissible by law. With that, I'll take a motion to open the meeting.
Motion, open the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor, Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
yes.
And Mr. Heshman's a yes.
I would also like to note that I'm going to audio record this, just as a backup to the.
Okay, it will be audio, also audio recording this. First on the agenda is approval for minutes, the last meeting. Sure, you're playing catch-up, so we can table that. One thing, what I'd like to mention to you is I forwarded you an email from Jennifer Conley and Holy Family. I'm gonna talk to Robin, I didn't mean to mention her. They want a copy of that for their records to help them, basically, stall the banks or the paperwork so that they don't have to go with septic. Also from that, I had, and I'll go into that, might as well go into it a little bit now, this is under other items, that I had a meeting, Zoom meeting with Wright Pierce and Veolia on the status of the upgrade. We're gonna be having a core team meeting on August 7th. But what they mentioned, Sherry, was you need a PEF form from Weston Sampson on the I&I repair.
Okay.
You
No.
you know what that is, or do you need me to get?
I was looking for assistance from Wright Pierce on that. We had talked about the PEF form.
Okay, that would be
When-
Ken Wong that you wanna go to.
Alright,
I can send you his email.
no, I have his
Okay.
contact.
Okay.
And what are they saying, they need that completed
They'd
or?
like to get that going by August,
Okay,
because things are really starting to break now, they're moving right along.
and
guess-
I was expecting that in July, yeah.
Yeah, Jess said she's gonna be in touch with you shortly, because things are really starting to break for
Okay,
the funding.
great.
Okay, administrator, part-time, Bobby Jo, as you know, we've hired Bobby Jo Ekstrom as part-time administrative assistant. She's began working this week. I've not met her, I'm trying to meet her, hopefully I will next week. And I'm gonna invite her to next week's meeting if she can stay that long. She has other responsibilities at home. We're gonna skip Robin's admin update till later, so we'll go into my South Weymouth Naval Air Station meeting. I had each of you sent an email regarding that. Jack, I have an extra copy of that. You can do that. On that email, my minutes is a string of emails that took place in the past between Dave and the base. I'm only giving you that as reference so you know as much as I know. Because I did not know these meetings prior meetings had taken place. You could follow the string as they go along. Well, anyway, I met with them July 5th, 2023. In the memo, I wanna edit that from Union Point to say, I met with representatives of the master developer, BPD Union Point LLC, Tetra Tech. I'll edit that memo and get it out to you. But I wanna read it into the record. On Wednesday, July 5th, I met with representatives of the Union Point project who had requested this meeting on June 27, 23 in an email to Dave Taylor. Attending this meeting was Mr. Tony Omobono, Vice President of Tetra Tech, and Mr. Robert Daler, Vice President of Tetra Tech. I asked Rick Katouche to sit in from Veolia Operations, so he could be brought up to speed. Tetra Tech is handling the infrastructure for the developers. The representatives stated that they'd met with town officials in the past and they wanted to be brought up to speed on where the sewer department stands currently as far as capacity and a potential upgrade to the facility. As I said, I added the past emails to this memo for background purposes. They were also told that there were several report studies that were in process and they were interested in the results. And I went into details in the following studies, which I'm not gonna update now, but I have done so at previous meetings. They were interested in the 2020 facility assessment by Wright Pierce, the 2021 SSES study from ACON, the 2021 CWMP, Wright Pierce, currently in the phase 3. They wanted a copy of our July 1, 2021 moratorium, a copy of the I&I repair contract and the Green Mountain piping work, not the contract, but the results. The year 1 monitoring program conducted by Weston Sampson, and on top of that, I also gave them Veolia's semi-annual operation reports, past 2. If we had final copies of the reports, I gave them copies because they're all available on our website. It's public record. If we did not, I gave them draft copies, which I also have disclosed, and I'll get them final copies when I receive them. In your package that I gave the board, they had sent me an agenda that they wanted to go over, which was the overview of the collection system, an update on the basic report, on the reports I just outlined, any planned system improvements, status of projects of improvements, and overall project improvement schedule. With that said, we had a general discussion on the upgrade because they had several misconceptions. One was the comment made at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and they were under the impression that we may not or may be able to handle 7 million gallons a day. I clarified that by saying that I had structural engineers look at some of our tanks because I wanted to assess the possibility of raising the walls to hold more water, not to process a discharge, or not to discharge, but to hold in case the heavy rains, snow melt, and eliminate the potential from additional sewer system overflows, and that our permit limitations are governed by French's Stream, which is 2.5 million gallons a day. The subject of I told them that the subject of capacity had come up again, and I informed them we've been in violation of flow discharge for the past 30 months, and we've currently 12-month rolling average is at 2.66 million gallons a day. The subject of the moratorium came up, and they were informed that the Board of Commissioners are currently in the process of reviewing the document and hopefully to modify it in the near future so we can obtain some revenue. We discussed the waiting list where we currently have 28,350 gallons a day of approved connections whose flows are not yet recorded on our reporting data as yet. Again, for those of you who follow these meetings, that's old news. I mentioned there are 2 fairly large projects asking to connect as soon as they can, which is Holy Family and Park and Howard, in that order. From our conversation, I gathered that they'd be looking for a minimum of 200,000 gallons a day, just Rockland wastewater discharge from our section of the Union Point project. They were very clear that this would only be Rockland discharge. I want to comment on that further in a second. I informed them that the facility was originally designed for 2.5 million gallons, and where we're pushing our limits now, that the only way Rockland can handle any additional volume would be to build a secondary treatment facility. And we have the EPA up our permit limit to 3.0 million gallons a day. They agreed that these would be the best options, but those discussions with the regulators would be difficult and lengthy time-wise. After time to view the supply data, they would like to meet again with the full board, and I informed them that any additional meetings after that introductory meetings would be held in open session. On that list is Dan and Sherry. I CC'd John Ellard in the Rockland Sewer Department, along with the previous emails. Now, what I want to bring up is that after that meeting, I got a little confused because I read somewhere that Rockland Sewer is for both Abington and Rockland. And I need to look into that further, but after watching that meeting again Tuesday night, I'm even more confused because I'm understanding that I heard the comment that if Rockland cannot accommodate the water and or sewer, they're gonna walk away.
Correct.
Did you both hear that
That is the impression.
That's from the whole complex.
from the whole complex? Well, the other caveat to that would be that, which could be a real thorn in their side, was that the MWRA recently came out with, I was reading, that they now wanna be co-permittees, which means they will have basically full say in your sewer and water use, capacity, sampling, right down the end. If at all possible, I would like to avoid anything to do with the MWRA as far as sewer, because that is an extremely expensive proposition.
Mhm.
But that is down the road. That's all I have on the base. They
I
both
heard
seem
that.
like great guys. They were very open. I gave them copies of the sewer map, our sewer pipeline for the town. And reading the emails, Doug had already given them back a year or so ago, that copy. But they made us another copy and put it on a thumb drive electronically if we ever need it. I sent out copies of that to you, too, if you wanna just have that so you can reference it. Personally, to know where caca goes is not my shtick, but hey, one never knows. But,
I have a question, because as I watched that board meeting, what I heard was that they had rejected having a sewer plant on site, because there's a PFAS plume, and I'm assuming they were going to inject the water in the
Yeah.
well,
ground.
number one, I heard the same thing, and I spoke with both of these guys who, well, like I said, they were infrastructure. I didn't see or hear about them at the meeting. My problem would be putting a wastewater treatment system on the base. I'd have to be assured that there would be some sort of impermeable barrier only to prohibit any of the groundwater coming in or being treated, and that would be through I&I. Cause I know there are a lot of nasty solvents on the ground in there and PFAS. I'd be more concerned with the solvents than I would be the PFAS at this time, because the solvents that I know are probably on that base would be trichloroethylene, trichloroethane, which are both nasty carcinogens, and their breakdown products when you get into the 111 DCE, DCA are even worse.
I was talking to PFAS, they were talking about it on, in the government, the state, the Senate was talking about it. And they said they're gonna spend over $50 billion over the next couple of years, just on that.
On PFAS, yeah, if you remember right, that's in our new permit, and we have got to start addressing PFAS next year. Oh, no, not FY 25, we have to start addressing PFAS, which our costs are gonna go up, because right now, the only way I know to treat that is chemical.
Well, they said, one of the federal government give us a grant for it.
I don't know, that's something we could look at down the road, and, but you
So
know,
for the issue of solvents on site and leaking into any wastewater piping, doesn't everybody have that issue? Whoever, don't they have that now with the developments on site?
if they're on the base, I would assume they would. I don't know how their water's laid out. They have, in the sewers going MWRA, we don't really care about that.
Right.
Me, I'd say, okay, you're gonna put a
But we
sewer
wanna
treatment
protect-
system on the base, great, it'll be brand new.
Rockland's.
But 10, 15, 20 years down the road, when I&I starts showing up, which is going to show up,
Yeah,
I don't wanna be drawing in solvents.
right.
I've been through that
Because
once,
then
and
you have to-
it's an expensive
Then we have to treat them.
proposition. Oh, you won't remove solvents from wastewater, you gotta set up a separate treatment plant to treat it.
Yeah,
So just the solvents.
right.
And you can either do that by soil vapor extraction, groundwater pump and treat.
I know guys involved.
It's a nightmare.
Kid from Abington was involved in that Reuben mess up there.
Yeah, well, I did these solvents for Brookfield and Stoughton, and it's a horrible, horrible thing to deal with. But anyway, that's my spiel on the base. I don't know if anyone else had any other questions. And like I said, from watching that meeting Tuesday night, and right now, I'm confused, because to me, we can't give it to them right away. My personal feeling is that if they did want to pump to Rockland, they would have to kick to me, they're gonna have to pay for part of the upgrade, but again, that's not gonna increase our capacity to accommodate that 200,000. The only other avenue I could pursue, and I mentioned to them that, and I was looking at anyway for long-term for this upgrade, that this board has been demonstrating very proactive approach with the EPA in that administrative order. I think we're ahead of the game that even they are taking place with. And I'm hoping that we can demonstrate and show them good faith that down the road, we're gonna need some leniency on the phosphorus update, but maybe it even leaves us open to a discussion about saying, okay, can we increase our discharge to 3.0 million gallons with the base help and political help into French's Stream, knowing now we've got all these checks and balances and we are playing by the rules. And maybe even then the North River watershed would get on our side to do that. But again, that's way down the road, but these are just things to consider. I think to accommodate the base, in my opinion right now, we are at maximum capacity with what we have. This plant should never be processing more than 2.25 million gallons. That gives us a 10% safety margin for heavy rains and things of that nature. And as what's recently been demonstrated in New York, in Vermont, in the Midwest, those events are going to become more frequent. And when they talk about the 100-year storm, that means there's a 10% chance of you getting that flood. When they talk the 1,000-year storm, it's a 1% chance it happens. So these are going to increase. As I hate this bit about global warming, but it is proving to be realistic. We've all seen it. And if these floods can persist, it's only a matter of time before it catches up to us. And we've had 3 SSOs in less than a year and a half. So these are things we gotta.
Can I mention something?
Shoot. Public comment, identify yourself.
Oh, Jack Egan, Webster Street, Rockland. I believe during the meeting or the presentation, they had stated that Massachusetts is going to put or clamp down on stormwater with PFAS. So if they do that, you might be able to leverage the additional water that you're treating now, because it is stormwater that's coming in, and they might up your requirements.
That's a good point. I'll keep that in mind.
The stormwater's not supposed to be in that system.
Because Dave Taylor's gonna have to start treating stormwater at some point. That's the big
Well, that's
push.
another subject, man. Stormwater and drainage is the responsibility of the sewer commission.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
And anything that needs to be treated has to come here to be treated.
Right, so you're already treating it.
No, we're treating it, but we're not treating it for PFAS and that. We're gonna have to. We have to start addressing PFAS. So with that, we'll move on to, if there's no other questions, continuation of old business, which I wanna get into is reviewing the I&I control plan. I don't, and I'm gonna hand this out to you because I neglected to ask Robin, but pass that out, Jack. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of that to give you. What I wanna do is I just wanna jump over to, where we are currently, just a quick update. Now, the last column of costs, estimated costs is missing. FY '23 and FY '24, it's $150,000. FY '25, it jumps up to $155,000. 26 is 160, 27 is 200,000, and to be determined in FY '28, Weston Sampson estimated $1.5 million, but that falls in line with our upgrade. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to review that in 2023, our I&I program was a townwide metering program and GIS depth of groundwater analysis, which we have completed, and that is done. Final data on that will be I was told will be here the mid to end of August. And that'll just be in draft form, because once we get that, that's gonna be a lot of bantering about and going through. In FY '24 in the spring, we have the year 2 infiltration program, and that consists of manhole inspections and television inspection. Now, where this will tie into, and we've allocated, Sherry, $300,000 for that? For I&I?
Yes.
Okay, they're estimated at $170,000 of that will go into television inspection and manhole inspections. Now, the I&I repair work that we just conducted in the metering work, and I don't want anyone running amok on this number because it is a fictitious number right now. The metering program identified an area in town, which I mentioned at previous meetings, that may possibly hold 450,000 gallons a day of I&I. That area is in the Spruce, Salem, Plain Street, and Uptown area, which we have had a problem with water flow with. Now, with that identified, that's a general statement saying that 450,000 gallons is possibly there. We have to go in and identify the specific locations, which is where that $150,000 will come into. Weston Sampson is indicating maybe 170, I'm sure we can get it for 150. So we'd use that 150 to identify areas of potential cost-effective I&I to go after. And the remainder, if we have another 150, I would say we allocate probably half of that, $75,000, that we put in to get what I&I we can for that. That we keep 75,000 in contingency. This is just me speaking now, my thought.
Yeah. So this 170 as year 2 is gonna be targeted for that area. that
Well,
you
that's
just
what I'm
mentioned.
recommending to the board. I mean, we'd have to go out anyway and find an area to pinpoint. Well, the metering program did that for us. That's why I had added the 2 extra meters.
Yeah.
So that's identified the general area for us. So that's taken some of the strain off of us, because a lot of the video work already exists with the lining and the manhole work they've done.
Mhm.
Now, the meters have picked up an additional area, so some of that area has already been cambered. So I'm saying that's why we can break that down from 170, I think we get it for 150. Now with that 150, we pinpoint those areas that are cost effective to go after. I have that scope of work almost written. All I gotta do is add the legal mumbo jumbo, and it's cut and paste from others, so I'm not gonna pay an engineering firm to do that. So that's why I'm thinking that 150 may be reduced further. And then we take $75,000, half of what we have left, and put that to finding and repairing the I&I, keeping 75 in contingency. And then maybe allow, because Rick and I were speaking today, we're starting to see some reduction in flows, the daily flows. Again, it's misleading because we're coming into our dry months,
Yes.
okay?
Right.
So I'm predicting that it is gonna drop, and it's a better prediction than winning the lottery, that it's gonna drop this month, July, to probably show around 1.8 is my guess. I think August is notoriously a very dry month, so that'll be 1.7, 1.8. That's gonna additionally drop down our rolling average. Okay, so if we can keep going through that, remove, so then now we're getting that I&I down to like underneath that 2.25, okay? I think it's a workable solution to bring in one developer next fiscal year, and this is hypothetical,
Yes,
and use their money to do some additional I&I work.
that's what you're supposed to do.
Right, but what I'm saying, that 75,000, again, I don't wanna jump, but remember, we owe roughly $60,000 in INI after we took out that
Yeah.
100, right? Well, that added 75,000 that we put in should remove that 60,000, right? Now we get a developer, now we're even, now we can let a developer in somewhat, we get some revenue, even if we let one developer in next year. Which we'll get into in a moratorium discussion, but I think this INI plan is extremely sound, it's working out, and the numbers are beginning to catch up to where we want it to be. You guys have any thought on that, or? And don't let me dictate,
So-
please, don't let me dictate how we should spend that money, I wanna have a
No, yes, you're right.
hostile direction, you know,
Oh, you're-
conversation on it.
You're right about the I, we have to do it,
No.
and that's what that fees they pay is going to be done with.
Right, but right now we can't, we really are not in a place to take those
We
fees
can't.
in.
We don't.
We can't rely on the fees
Right
to
now.
finance the work that
So
we need
what
to
I'm
do.
saying is
but-
with that 150, defined it, pinpoint it, that still leaves, we take 75,000. 75,000 is going to take a nice hit. Now remember, the smallest developer we have who should be next on the line is Holy Family. And their INI fees, with the new fees, is $290,000. So I think we're gonna be in great shape after this fiscal year.
You should be through it.
Get through it.
If we get through it, right. I mean, there's a lot of it. Again, we could be nailing a big storm, and that's gonna blow all our numbers. But I think, I'm confident we're starting to fall into place. We have a sound engineering plan in front of us.
Mhm.
We're following the steps. We're not making exceptions. We're seeing the numbers catch up to us.
Mhm.
And I think by next month, we'll have a good feel how that 112 hit us. Because next month should be we should get into a dry period. So then we can
And I
look at
think
numbers
this
from
is
last
what we
year.
need to do, is to start making those plans going forward.
Right.
So this 170 will pinpoint what we need to fix.
Right.
And you're saying that 75 is going to fix that? Or what,
I
what do we
think,
need to fix
okay,
it?
I think,
What's the next,
do me a favor,
The
you
next
you have
step.
your calculator with you?
I can get it up, yeah.
I have my calculator, wait a minute. You got your recording on, I don't wanna record, too much I recorder. I want, the meeting closed, I wanna relay a passing on to you guys that I'm sure you're aware of. Okay, so let me say, what, 75,000, okay, so 60,000. Divided by 6.61. Okay, that we should be able to remove 9,000 gallons of INI at $6.61. Okay, that's what it should cost, so I'm saying 75,000 divided by 6.61. Okay, with that money, that 75,000, we should be able to remove 12,000 gallons of INI.
Mhm.
Okay? With the money from the next developer in line, would not only catch us up, but break us even and maybe give us a little
Public.
to play with. Because the goal should be to have enough capacity to give to the next developer. And we take his money to catch up to the next developer, not fall in the hole.
Yep.
And I think we're on the way to do that.
I think we are too.
Right, well,
And I wanna speak to that when we get into the moratorium.
Okay. So, on following that, in spring, in the FY '25 is the same thing, doing some more INI work for 170. Well, I'm gonna follow the same logic, that if we can still put away 300,000 every year, which we planned on doing in our rate study, with the new rate increase is gonna allow us to do that, we are gonna be able to keep biting off INI as we go along, as long as we're not stupid. And by stupid, I mean, and I know no one wants to hear this, but making an exception of putting a large project in before we have the capacity to give to them. Because then you're digging a hole. And here's my biggest fear right now. What got us into this bind was violation of flow. This is nothing new to Rockland. Rockland was warned by the Mass DEP in 1998 for repeated flow violations. They didn't correct it. They got an administrative order, an AO in 2006, ignored it, basically, and kept digging themselves into a hole. Well, now that was the result of the 2022 administrative order. Now, whether they go through with their fine or not of 2006 is water under the dam. What I wanna do is keep demonstrating to them that we are going through good faith. We are doing everything we're saying we're doing. Now, the problem is very shortly, and I had a conversation with Wright Pierce, and I'm afraid it's gonna be sooner rather than later. It's highly unlikely, we all knew this, that we're gonna make the phosphorus deadline. We have got to write a letter to the EPA requesting an extension on that phosphorus deadline, which I'm sure they will give us maybe 1 year. They're not gonna give us any more. They basically told us that in body language. We might only get a 6-month extension, but I think we can get some kind of extension. What I don't want to do is go for extensions like that during the upgrades, because there's gonna be many more we can't meet, be it gather raw material or whatever. We don't wanna keep going to them with our hat in our hand for items that didn't get us in the jam. The flow got us in the jam. We've got to stay focused on addressing that flow. And not saying, oh, we need an exception on the flow. I know we owe 60,000, but we wanna let Joe Smith in. Maybe we'll catch up later. That is, we cannot fall into that trap. And, you know, however the town goes in the long term with sewer, if they fall into that trap, they're foolish. You just cannot do it.
Sometimes they wanna twist your arms.
Well, the developers will always waive money and things of that nature. Oh, we'll pay for it, okay? I'm glad you're gonna pay for it, and yes, you are gonna pay for it. But you're gonna pay for what I'm gonna give you, and I don't have that to give you yet. When I have it, I'll give it to you, and then you can pay it for us, pay us for that. But that's, and we gotta be firm on that, because we're gonna get into that in a moratorium. I think now's a good point to transition into that, because the I&I, all I wanted to say is we're right on schedule. If anything, we're ahead of the game. Any questions on the I&I report?
What's the flow today?
2.2. Okay, I asked you guys to bring copies of the moratorium that I modified, did you?
I do.
Did you bring? Okay, well, here's what I have for me, here's what I have for you, and here's what I have for you. What I'm giving you, I wanna give to you as a prelude into a moratorium discussion. I don't wanna read that first letter email into the record, but just so people know, I had a conversation with Bob Galvin via email on trying to work around different scenarios for possible development coming in. Because as you all know, we need revenue from the developers to function. You have to take the hit off of you, the users. And the one thing I kept stressing to him, knowing how attorneys work and how developers work, and I kept bouncing up at him, that no matter what I do, I want your assurances that I can't come back and bite me in the ass by means of creating a precedent. Meaning if we make exception for one, my philosophy is you always gotta, if you make it for one, you gotta do it for another.
Yes.
And if you do it for one and you don't do it for another, you're gonna end up in court. So the first sheet is a summary of my conversations with Bob. I'm gonna read into what Bob said to me. He said, I saw your email, it makes sense to me. But just remember, if we have a moratorium, it's still considered a local one, not a federal one. If you say yes here, when you have enough capacity, you may be asked by other people to do the same for them. I can see, this is Bob, I can see the Housing Appeals Committee telling the town at some point that if a developer commits enough money to make repairs for their capacity, we may not be able to deny them either. And I took exception to that, which lawyers don't, land council didn't, they don't appreciate, because one, my first item would be what's in contention now, a Zone A matter. However, if a developer did take exception to us, we can always point to 2 administrative orders for flow violations that are still open, and one possibly being fined on. So good luck to you overriding the EPA. And 2, we have a very, very long and documented trail of lack of capacity with flow violations, and 2 SSOs in less than a year and a half. So, to me, that would just, if they wanna go to appeals court, I'd go to court with them and say, bring it on, because I think we've got enough ammo. But I'm afraid that other people, and I don't wanna seem that negative when I say other people in town may feel differently, that's their job, and I guess it's a point counterpoint, Shane, you know, I just had a Saturday Night Live vision in my eyes, but, I know I won't use that, but I'm just saying that, you know, point counterpoint, and that's what the other boards in towns are there for. It's a check and balance that they've got to argue, yeah, but you should, they have money, and say, yeah, but you can't because of this. And that's just the reason why we're in this problem. They got blinded by the money from the developers. We absolutely cannot fall into that pitfall, which now leads us into a moratorium discussion. I had sent out a moratorium to the board members only to read, not to discuss until today. And what I would like to do is take this moratorium and chew at it, maybe 2 pages at a time in a working session, till we get it down through what we want. How do you guys feel about that?
How much we have to change?
I changed, well, one of the things I put in is that we had to remove 50,000 gallons, right? I
Yes.
took that out. One of the other things, and to get below, I put down the 12-month daily rolling average to 2.0. I'm not comfortable with that. And number one, we're never, ever, ever gonna get to 2.0. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's about
Maybe
time we
in
grow
August.
up and realize that.
Yeah.
Maybe in August only, we have a lot of us
All right.
going around.
2.0 is just not realistic. Does that say you got 500,000 gallons of capacity? No. It means you got 500,000 gallons in case for rain, snow, melt, or flood that you need so you're not polluting that river. And we all saw the last SSO, they shut down the clam beds for 30 days and blamed Rockland. Well, when you shut down the clammy beds, you're hurting people's income and livelihood, which is gonna open up the door for a lawsuit. So, I upped it to 2.25 because I think that's manageable, as long as we don't start screwing around with it. Because it's 250,000 gallons, and we can always change that if we see heavy rains and say, no, we just can't allow it. What I did is I took the first page of it and I highlighted and bulletized reasons for this moratorium, which it's only a quickie, so I'll just go into that. The new connection, the purpose of the moratorium / ban on permits is to allow the sewer system to stabilize so that we come into compliance with our NIFTY's permit, meet the conditions contained in the administrative order docket, yada yada, and to confirm our current capacity limitations and reduce our inflow and infiltration. That's what this board has been trying to do since we came on. I said effective July 1st, 21, the Board of Commissioners placed a 6-month hold on the issuance of new sewer permit connections. It was renewed on December 31st. I'm just stating conditions why. We have previously approved connections that were existed from January 1st, 2020 through June 21st can remain valid, but they must apply for a 1-year extension before May 1st, 2023, which I have done. Individual connections that do not exceed 440 gallons per day of I&I wastewater will continue to be allowed and not subject to this. In June of 2022, the town of Rockland and Rockland Board of Sewer Commission was issued a second AO orders with conditions that must be met. On March 15, 23, the Rockland Sewer published a notice for sewer system overflows. It was the third such event since November 19. From the period of January 21st, 2020 to May 28, 23, 41 months, the treatment facility has been violated. Their 12-month daily rolling average of permit flow to 2.5 million gallons a day, 33 of the 41 months, or 81% of the time. And as of June 1st, 2023, or when approved, or when we talk about this, and that's a month of today, 12-month rolling average is 2.66 million gallons a day. That first page is just on the reasons why we need this moratorium. Now we're into the moratorium itself. I put down, like, there has been some changes. I don't know if you want to go into that now or have a quick 20-minute discussion on it.
But I got 2 pages here,
We're gonna do, okay, the
what
first,
to say.
Okay,
no,
so-
you didn't bring your
No,
moratorium.
we moved
I meant
on
the
to the
moratorium.
moratorium. Do you want me to run and make copies for Dan?
No, you
Okay.
let Paul.
All right, the whereas section I kind of thought should be at the end because it's more informational rather than procedural.
Well, what I'm trying to do is just,
What I see this moratorium is stating, as you said, the reasons that we have these restrictions in place, how we're gonna handle these restrictions, and it's a document that others can look at and understand what we may or may not be asking of them, or what they can expect from us. So I see it, not only is it going to state this information, but it should be procedural as well.
It's
so
plain.
you're saying whereas we just move to the end
Just put it
after
at the end,
conditions?
because it's really
I have no problem with that.
informational. Your moratorium really starts on the next under, all new connection permits must meet the following
All right, so
conditions.
people know the whereas is basically, what I previously stated,
Mhm.
so.
Right. The moratorium, it has,
Right, and what, the only other thing it added is that, some work that we've done with
it
Green
talks
Mountain
about the
Piping
work that
and,
we've done and
metering,
the
right.
projects that we have on our wait list. You have,
well, wanna just go up to the first 4 conditions and that's it?
yes, sure. Condition number 4 should absolutely be
Okay,
condition
well, let me read
number
them in
1.
so people know. Moratorium conditions. Before a new permit to connect to the Rockland sewer system is issued, and to satisfy previously approved projects, parentheses, July 1, 2023, approximately, and this may be edited, 175,450 gallons of inflow and infiltration, that's times the 11 of the 28,000, must be removed, must be located, identified, and removed from the system by the town of Rockland Sewer Department. The funding for that removal must come from user fees collected, the residents, grants or funds approved by the voters at town meetings. That's just the reason why we need this moratorium, as well as the other stuff. Now, the moratorium conditions begin here, and all new connections must meet the following condition. Condition 1, no permit for a new connection will be issued until there is adequate capacity to meet the complete amount of flow required for the project before the project begins. That is something I was talking about when we went into the I&I plan.
Mhm.
If we don't, what you're doing is you're robbing Peter
The paper.
to pay Paul. And Peter, in this case, is capacity will fall deeper and deeper in the hole, forcing us to go to the EPA, which we don't want to do.
Mhm.
I think that would be
No, we don't wanna do
a
that.
gross error. It's strategical error.
So this moratorium discusses an available sewer flow account. And I gave that some thought, and I think we can move forward using that as our governance on what's going to
Okay,
happen.
can we just get through the
So
conditions?
yes,
Then we'll go
but
into
that
the
condition
available
1
flow.
is going
Right.
to apply to that.
Okay, that available sewer flow accounts were mentioned later,
Mhm.
so, again, condition one is gonna state that unless the capacity exists, you can't connect.
Yep.
Now, that leads us in to Bob's memo, Bob Galvin's memo, in his response to me. If you make exception to one, you're done.
Yeah.
You gotta make exception for all of them. So keep that in mind. Condition two will be no permit for new connection will be issued to any project based on the assumption that the required 11:1 ratio for flow removal will be met at a later date or after the new connection is made. After the, I should say, new connection is made. Do you agree with condition two?
No, that's gonna feed into my discussion on the available sewer flow account.
Okay, then just let me read
Just
them
keep
in the
going.
ones.
Yep,
Okay.
just keep going.
Condition three, and this right now for the record is just what I put out for a suggestion, the board's up for discussion on this.
Yeah.
Condition three would be that there'd be a total yearly capacity available not to exceed satisfying 30 total bedrooms per year or 3,300 gallons per year of wastewater flow per individual application. This amount will be reduced as applications dictate. What I was trying to get at there, that we're gonna allow right now, or as capacity determined by available capacity, we're gonna say not to, for now, not to exceed 30 bedrooms. If we have an applicant come in and wants a 4-bedroom unit under the moratorium, underneath the moratorium availability, that will leave us only 26 bedrooms available to give out
On an annual basis.
on an annual basis. Again, trying to rein in control of the flow. Now, that amount may change as we do I&I work, but right now, as we stand today, in my view, from where I sit, that's all we can do right now. And there's a method to my madness with that number.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, so again, that, I'm saying that fiscal year 24, which we're entering, we cannot, until we complete our I&I work, cannot guarantee anything more than 30 bedrooms this year. And that's 3,300 gallons of flow, but that would also mean that we have to remove
So if someone put an addition on the house in that room, there'd be one less, brought down 29.
Right.
That's right.
Now that's right. Now, if they put down a 1-bedroom, that gives us 29 that we can expand. If someone comes in and gets 4 more, that means we're down to 25, 24.
Yeah, but how somebody builds a room and then all of a sudden changes.
Right, well, it's still dry, a flow is, remember,
Yeah, but flow is
that's
flow.
that's what got us into this account.
Yes.
You gotta realize that flow is flow. How it comes into the system is insignificant. It doesn't matter. It's coming into the system. We're saying because if we take that 3,300 gallons, we've gotta remove 36,300 gallons of flow. We don't have a choice in that. So it's not that we gotta remove 3,300, we gotta remove 36,000. Okay, that 36,000,
I get you.
which means that's $240,000 that we need to bring in to remove. Well, we don't have that in our account, which means we're gonna have to stop bringing in developers on credit, because we don't have the flow to give them the credit. So that's where I'm going with that. Condition 4, no new permit will be issued if at any time within 6 months prior to the date of application, a 12-month rolling average exceeds 2.25 million gallons a day. We need a safety buffer. We need something that'll control the Board of Sewer Commissioners.
I think that should be condition number 1. right
Okay,
at
we
the
can
top
make
of the
that
list.
one.
Top of the list, because that is what this is all about. Is going over our limit. If we can't,
Control that, right.
if we can't meet that,
No, I agree with you. I mean, it's just,
Once we give
No.
these people permission to come in, and then we blow out, it's true.
right,
you are. I mean, but you gotta, that I put in there would be to control us. I mean, if anyone violates that, it's gonna be us. And it should be, the EPA should, we should put it in there honestly, without permission from the EPA. But the EPA would never say that, they're gonna turn around and say, hey, that's your business.
Oh, they gave us permission to hook up to the sewer, remember?
No, they will say, that you can do whatever you want, then they'll be there to hit you with a rattan. So, how do you feel about those 4 conditions? And again, here's one thing I want to, just to make sure people are aware of. They're gonna say, oh, you're not giving public comment. What I wanna do, and the way I look at this document right now, this is a working document for us, the commissioners. Once we have a draft ready document for that, I have every intention to put it out for public comment. And say, speak now, forever hold your peace, because it may be something we missed.
Right.
So I do intend to put it out for public comment, but right now, I don't think it's public comment ready. I mean,
This is just
our
working
business.
session discussions.
Right, this is something we're trying to develop, to give the people, say, okay, here's what we hammered through. What do you think? So, with that said,
I think that's.
other than moving the order, are you happy with those 4 conditions? You had an issue with number 2,
I do.
okay.
Well, all right, so what I'd like to do is throw out an idea, because I've been giving a lot of thought to this available sewer flow account.
Excuse me, yeah.
Can you pass one down? And this is, what I was thinking is that we needed a process, once we get through our flow issues and we get below and in compliance, we need a process to move forward.
Mhm.
So this is based on a couple of assumptions that, we've gotten through all this mess. It's assuming that the I&I can be located and fixed in a timely manner. But we're looking at, starting with the 113 that we've removed, divide that by 11, that gives us 10,351 as a balance in our available flow account.
Right, now, hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
That, right
Go
now,
ahead.
that's not in there, because here's what I'm looking at.
Well, because we're still over our
We
limit.
owe, I wanna make sure I get the accurate numbers here, so we're speaking apples for apples.
Yep. We still have more that we need to remove, that's understood.
Okay, we have 313,000 gallons of owed I&I to remove, 500,000 gallons. That's based on the 28,850 times 11. Of that 313,000, we have removed,
120?
no, hold on. We moved 113,850. So we now are in the hole, technically, 199,650.
Yes,
So you break that down by,
yes. But for purposes of discussion, what I'm talking
Okay.
about is how a process would work going forward.
right, okay.
Say
but
that's taken out.
Okay, but I wanna make sure that everyone knows that. Based on that, theoretically, we're 18,000 gallons in the hole,
Mhm.
but we have to multiply that 11, so. So, we've taken that 113,000 gallons out.
Mhm.
You divide that by 11. 113,850 divided by 11 equals, theoretically, we've only taken out 10,350, which would go into our
Right.
I&I account.
10,350
So we're still
available for
negative.
new flow
We're still negative,
because of the 300,000.
right.
This is based on the assumption that that's
Right.
done. This is just moving.
Right, and that,
But
the original
This
I&I.
is, this is how an available sewer flow account should work.
Right,
Should
the
work.
original moratorium takes that into consideration, if you remember that, I kept breaking that down, saying, for every I&I, we gotta divide by 11,
Right.
that's the actual amount we take out.
Right.
So far, we're in agreement.
Right. So, the first project on our wait list is Dyer Street of a flow of
Well, okay.
4,730. Just let
Yeah,
me
okay,
run through
okay,
this.
go ahead.
Let me just run through it. Using our 10,000 gallons available, take out Dyer Street, we still have 5,000 available. We have now received some money from Dyer. We have a requirement to remove 11 to 1, 52,000, that's on the right side, that's
Yeah.
what we need to do.
Yep.
So let's assume that we take those development fees and we're able to pull out 33,000.
Okay,
We are now adding 3,000 to our available flow,
correct.
and we now have reduced our requirement to only 19,000.
Correct, okay, but
Doesn't
you're
count the
looking
future.
out, you're looking out in the future, I'm
Yes,
looking
I
at,
am.
I'm looking
I'm
right now.
absolutely looking in the
Okay,
future.
you're looking in the future, but
Because
I'm looking
once-
at right now.
But what I'm saying is that we need to determine what is the future rules going to look like,
Oh, I understand that.
so that we can write it into our moratorium, because I'm confident we're gonna get there.
Oh, I'm probably,
And
I
the
know
day
we're
we
gonna
get there is not when I wanna start hashing this out.
But
And-
if you also look in the moratorium, I've put in that we review this every April,
Mhm.
1st and September.
Yeah,
I don't wanna keep going back and say, well, geez, we gotta open up now. We
No.
open up some capacity,
No.
say, in May, we don't know what the weather's gonna do,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't wanna make decisions
no,
on
no.
that.
Not
We
until
make
we
this,
get,
all right, but what I'm saying is not, we're making on decisions of what we have right now today. I agree with you.
I needed some numbers to work with.
Yeah.
How is this gonna work?
How you get, what you're going at is the reason I'm so confident we're gonna be there,
Yes,
because we haven't taken their money yet.
right.
So I'm confident we're gonna be able to go after whatever
what-
we get out of that 450.
So what I'm saying is that if we can put this, if we can keep this process in mind, our development fees will start to support the I&I removal.
Yes.
Absolutely it's going to.
Now, we have that other development too. it's
But
gonna-
to
Well,
do
don't
that-
count them yet.
To
Don't
do
count
that, condition number 2 is saying we won't give a permit based on the assumption that the 11 to 1 would be met at a later date.
them. Yeah,
but
but if you go
if
in the
we're
conditions
rolling-
up,
If
I
we-
mentioned that, we already had that approved.
Right, but if we're rolling with this development is now starting to contribute to the next,
Okay, yeah,
you know,
but I know what you're saying.
So what I'm saying is that we would not give a permit if we don't have an available flow in the account.
Right,
But that still leaves the 11 to 1, it still needs to be removed.
right, but right now,
So that's not,
we don't have the flow in the account.
okay.
I know, I understand, I'm not brushing you off.
No, no,
I
so what I'm
understood all
trying-
that, but I'm
okay.
just saying, down the
This
road,
isn't gonna fit
we're
in the
gonna be
future.
there. No,
Okay.
but right now, it fits where we're at.
Yes, it does.
And so I'm saying, come September, you know, maybe we'll see the check from Dwyer, well, we've got Dwyer Street's check,
Yeah,
don't we?
yes, we do.
Is that-
Is that in FY, that's in FY 23 though?
That's our revolving, they did pay, they are.
And they're in FY, we've already accounted for that money,
Well, we
That money's
we
gone.
have the funds.
That
No, it's
money's
not
gone. so that's coming into 24. So that's
We
on
keep
top,
that money.
okay, so we are ahead of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I'm saying is, but right now, with this moratorium, I want to establish where we are going to vote on this as of September 1. September 1, we can modify it. But this, we need to look at something where we are right now. But
All right.
all those projects, hopefully will catch up. Concord Street, 365 and 320, I don't see that money coming in for a year, so we're still gonna be in the hole with them.
Mm-hmm.
Manzella, I'm sure he's gonna connect soon. And some of the nickel dime little ones will
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna have big impact on our I&I.
Union Street,
Hmm?
Union Street,
Not even in
That's
the
not
book yet,
even-
not even on the
It's
pages.
not even on the radar.
But we are that's why I'm so confident, I know we're gonna get there.
Once we get,
Rolling on
Caught
this.
up.
Right,
yes, it is, it's gonna.
but we don't have a means to document to catch up. This is controlling us, so we will catch up.
Mhm. Okay.
And especially that 2.55 million.
Yes.
That is our control.
Yes,
And that's the one thing we have to adhere to. And now the reason I'm confident about allowing the one project in, which why I kind of blew off Bob, is that I knew we were getting some quick money. So I think we're gonna be in a very good spot in about 6 months,
I
which is
agree.
why I'm not sweating out one project.
Well, what one project are you referring to? I
Okay.
mean, we have to stick to this wait list.
Yes, Boy Family. The other night, that
Well-
one on there.
They are not. We have 320 Concord Street.
Oh, I know, but what,
365.
my numbers to get caught up include them.
Okay, all right.
Okay, once we get that check from, okay, you have the check from Dwyer Street,
Mhm.
there's some more work that's not in these numbers yet, because we haven't spent that.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So we're sitting good.
Yeah, this year they already started at Concord Street, one of them.
and the 365 Concord
But
is
yeah,
paid.
but he hasn't paid
They
it.
have also paid 365. So we do have some funds to work with.
Yeah,
But my question is, you know, we can't take 3 years to locate and fix I&I. It has to be
I know that.
compressed, and that's why I really like what you said about the annual control.
Right,
If we can start finding it and fixing it all in 1 year.
right,
Yes.
and we have the
We're
vehicle
gonna get there.
to do that now.
Mhm.
As long as we follow that I&I control plan, and we keep ourselves in check.
Yeah, we just,
I mean, that 2.5, when I said that 2.25, that is us. That is, you know, if we violate that, shame on us, we're not doing our job.
right,
And I'd vote to get you out of office,
yes.
or me, which, by the way, that's something we have to discuss. But anyway, I think this moratorium, for where we are today, is the right thing to do. I think we're going about it the right way. And you're 100% right, because I was looking at these numbers, but I don't have them yet. I do know I have 28,350 gallons to come out,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm looking at right now. I forgot about the Dwyer Street check,
Yeah.
and I forgot about the 365 check. Let me shut this off.
So, the projects that we have on our wait list,
You wanna
And
run down the list for
I&I
everybody?
Sure, we can certainly do that.
Why don't we do that and just mention
But
who is in, what money we have in for 2024?
my question is, this flow and this I&I, is that counting against what we're fixing right now, the I&I?
Yes,
Okay. That's what I'm banking on.
yes.
So that's a giant step forward.
Oh, absolutely it is. Because look, remember, that I&I what we got from ARPA,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
There's a big hit that we didn't have to pay for. That's free I&I.
right, that's what's giving us the opportunity to
Right.
start thinking about these projects that are,
But
and,
the other thing too is the way we're going at it. We can't wet their whistle, so they say, okay, you're gonna be in
Oh, no.
real quick. This is gonna be
No.
done very structurally.
oh, they go right on the wait list,
Right.
that process is going to continue.
Now, you do
We're
realize,
not-
you're gonna get a lot of pressure to deviate.
I know. That's
Don't-
why it's so important that this moratorium be procedural.
Right,
This is the way it works,
absolutely.
and that's,
And that's why I wanna, after we do
Story.
it, I'm gonna give it to Galvin to run through.
mhm.
Because I don't wanna get caught into making an exception for someone. What we gotta do, what we put down in these conditions and in this moratorium is the guideline. We are
Yes,
not, I don't care.
yes,
I could be, all of it's gonna be a senior house, they're not gonna charge people rent. We can't, I'm sorry, we don't have the capacity.
we don't have the flow, we don't have the flow.
Right.
We don't have the flow, we don't have the flow.
You're right, you're right.
And we just
And you
follow
You
it.
have
And-
to start
And
there.
if you have a roadmap and you stick to it, the way we're going about it, the town's not gonna get burned.
There will be no exceptions.
They may not like they're not growing as fast as they want to, but we have to dig them out of the hole that they put themselves in.
This is it. And once we get there, as we just discussed, things are gonna start rolling.
Right.
It will support itself.
Again, I was very, I'm gonna go into a little mayhem with Doug, but I was very positive because I don't wanna just disclose everything because then they'll run amok. I'm very structured, let's eat one part of this elephant at a time as we go. But we gotta need a roadmap, this is our roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so,
Agreed.
I agree with everything you said on that. Thing I do wanna change your first assumption. 2.5 is gotta go, it's gotta be 2.25.
2.5.
Okay, fix the time we're doing that. Just going to the year thing. Okay, we have to have that available sewer fund account that open, yeah. And I think, no, the EPA will accept this. I'm not even blinking at it.
I mean, I think it's.
But they gotta make sure they're gonna wanna see us doing it.
Well, we have to follow it, and that's the, using this as a guideline. Maintaining tracking documents on both the flow and the I&I removed if we stop removing I&I, we're gonna eat up the flow, and then we're right back where we
Right.
started. So this is almost like our self-governing,
Right, the key
Vehicle.
to that is the 2.25.
yes, at all times, that's the number one.
The 12-month rolling average, not, hey, June is down to 1.6, you
Yeah.
got 400,000. No.
And it doesn't matter if our available flow balance is
This-
there,
Right.
if we're still
If
over
we're
capacity.
no matter what we have,
Whatever
Right.
this says,
whatever that 2.5
starts with the
is,
2.25.
that is your governor.
Yes, starts there. If you don't have
Okay.
it, then everything just is on hold.
Because that 250,000 gallons, which is nothing in a rainstorm, which is everyone's seen because we've had SSOs.
Yeah, that's it.
Until we get this upgrade and get
Totally agree.
permission to, raise the walls, if we can, we're done. But,
But we still 2.25. I don't care if we
2.25
can
is
hold more.
right,
You know, on a
you've
given
got to
day.
have that.
That's right, totally.
Okay, so that'll be it for today then, we'll get into the
Agreed.
conditions 1 through 4.
Yep.
Okay? Yeah, that is that.
So it looks like it's gonna be open against one project.
Well, we-
I'm confident, I'm confident that we can, but,
No,
no, hold it,
We have-
I'm just saying, I'm confident we can if we follow the steps.
Steps.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And that step, that steps to the moratorium is the I&I control plan.
Yes. You know, it's those,
we're
nothing
not
there,
there
those
yet.
steps.
We're not, no,
We're
we're
not
definitely
there
not
yet.
there yet.
No, we're not there yet.
I mean, it's looking good. I can see the light at the tunnel, but let's not turn it into a train. So, that's a waiting list. We have the I&I control plan, and I think we're on our way. We'll have the more discussions. Sherry, you're up. County update. What I was interested in, how we look at the end of the year. I know Robin's still chasing some.
Yeah, the end of
Um,
the year is still kind of, let me, one
I know
second.
she was pulling her hair out today on it.
One second.
So you know I've sent out emails to all the vendors saying I needed all your
Yes.
June invoices, 2 weeks ago. Well, you don't get paid, so that should be historical.
So,
Are you gonna have time for me in 10 minutes? or not?
Always.
yeah,
What-
Robin is still working on the accounts book, so I don't really have an end of the year. You've been asking vendors for their invoices, so we're getting those in under the encumbrances to get them onto that bottom line for June 30. We just got some new information from Scott, about how we're going to work these new accounts, and frankly, have not looked at that yet. So that's my accounting update. See more you're looking for?
You want Robin
I
to
just-
go on while we're waiting for you, or?
Yeah, no problem.
Were you guys just talking about the wait list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a call from Kayla on the Harmon Golf Project. She wanted to know where they were on that.
They're not.
We never gave them their fees either.
No,
I-
they're not, they're
they're
not on
not-
the wait list. We
They're
haven't
not
seen
on
any
boards,
plans.
they don't have any
No.
permits,
They have to bring them in front of them.
they, and it's my recommendation that
They hold off.
they not come to us until they've received permits from the other boards.
Well, we're not accepting
we
any
can-
applications anyway right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. But, we, in the past, have had people on wait list that have not been approved at any other board.
No. And plus, we haven't seen any drawings.
Okay.
And they're just-
I've been following your numbers too.
Who'd you buy that? Who'd you-
It's so big, I figured I'd just bring the
I want
importance.
that diamond.
I'll hit you with that next week. I received a call from Glenn Miller, he's the person that was wanting to tie in up at A.W. Perry. So they.
Oh, yeah.
So, the location, I don't have the drawing on hand, but if I recall, you had told them that it was okay as long as they got permission from A.W.
Yeah.
Perry, which they did. The easiest place for them to tap in is midway between two manholes, and they wanna know if that's acceptable. or if you would prefer them to tie directly into a manhole.
I prefer them tying into a manhole.
Okay, that's what I told them. Do you have any preference for them to?
I wanna look at the map. I would say the one closest to A.W. Perry, upstream.
Upstream?
No, downstream, what am I talking about? Downstream,
All right.
down gradient.
Down, yeah. All right, so, do you have any, I already spoke to them about cleanouts, they're gonna install two, one sweeps to the street, one sweeps to the property. Do you have any optional requirements, like a manhole with a doghouse or a grinder pump before tying into the line,
I
or?
wanna refresh my memory on the prints, on the
It's,
drawing.
it's a sink and a toilet, it's a half bath,
No,
alright. Nope. And not optional is the cleanhouse, but I already told them that. I have here, I kinda lost track of this, I have an agreement to perform non-routine services by and between the town of Rockland and Veolia. It's for $155,433. It's phase one plant upgrade, the new
Yes.
opera account, 1 million plus the 1.5 million in bonds.
Mhm.
Everybody signed it but Veolia. Was I supposed to be getting a signature from Veolia?
no, but you know what, I would like their signature on it.
Yeah.
Right.
The signature should come from Matt Johnson. Do you want me to reach out to him?
No, I can scan this to him and I'll copy you on it. Is that okay?
Yep. Should go to Matt Johnson.
So I'll copy the board when I send that. Yeah, good thing it wasn't, a big rush. It's been.
Oh, yeah, because I know that Chris Kenny's seen that.
Yep, he signed it. Scott, I took it up and had Scott sign it, and that's when I kinda dropped the ball, so I thought I would,
No, Matt should
Yeah,
have signed
sorry
that
about
before
that.
I got it, before we received it.
Alright, so I have a sounder at soundersystems.net. You had signed that proposal for Rick, but we had actually issued him a purchase order for that. First one for this year, and I need a signature on the purchase order.
What are you saying?
16,000.
Must
Is
have
it
been-
for
That's good radio, huh?
the fire alarm and the carbon monoxide, right?
Yeah. I should have said that, sorry. Manholes at the elementary school, this is from June 16th. Jackson of Great Builders, the general contractor, called the office. They're beginning work out the baseball field. They're planning to open the manhole, pressure wash it, seal it, watertight. They're requesting that someone contact them to coordinate with them on this effort. I sent this to you guys on June 16th.
Right, that would
Did
be,
you act on it?
is that Jackson?
Yep.
Okay, I looked at, I'll talk to him about that. I wanna have, words in the school, I want Pepper in it to be with me on that one. When's he gonna be doing that?
It looks like he may have already started it.
Yeah, he hasn't sealed it yet, I'll call Pat tomorrow, I'll call Jackson tomorrow. I have his number.
And then, John Dunn Concord, Luke's Liquors Plaza, that whole thing where Holdley had reached out to us
Yep.
to say they thought it was gonna be an issue.
Yep.
And you wanted to hold off until, EST and Green Mountain were done on the field.
They're done on that area.
Okay, what are you gonna do? Do you wanna just leave it until something perks up and then address it?
Do you
or
want,
wanna
I'll
just-
give him a call and tell him if he wants to do the work now to blow out his end of the line, great. He was gonna do his, right? Do his?
He already did his.
Oh,
And
okay.
then Holdley was bringing it to our attention. We don't have to do anything, you can wait until something happens and then clear it out.
Wait till
which is-
something happens, cause it's already done with, Green Mountain, they're already in and out of there.
Cause every few years we do have to, but there's no sense in, I don't think there's any sense in rushing it.
You're funny you mentioned, I was thinking that the other day, John Dunn Drive always used to flood, always,
Yes.
they hasn't done that in a long time.
And when then they put the manholes, the
Alright.
sewer lines,
It
and when
was-
they went down,
There was one other thing, I must have left it on my desk, but do you recall that I sent out, you questioned it? It was North River Collaborative up at the top of Beach Street.
Yeah, the school. North River
They're up
Collaborative is,
on the hill,
yeah, the
right,
top of the hill,
they're at
yeah.
the bottom of Spring, and then they're
Yeah.
up at the top of the hill, on Beach, and you question that? So what happened was, David Taylor was down there clearing it for, I don't know if he was signing off on drainage or
the
highway or
drainage on
whatever.
the thing going out.
And he said to them, is anybody from sewer over here? And then he had called and I sent it to you guys and we were kinda all like, what is it? Well, what it is, they replaced their line hooking into sewer using Hoadley before Hoadley got a drainway license, but I don't wanna really necessarily blame Hoadley because
No,
Hoadley had a relationship with Dandel.
Yep.
Dandel was always pulling the permits and letting Hoadley do the work, and now Hoadley did the work.
let it ride.
Right, but you question like what it was,
Yep,
that's what it was.
all right, let it ride.
So we
Good time.
probably have to, at some point when we issue the Hoadley license, let him know that since he's not working with Dandel anymore, that he needs to start pulling permits for this work.
Yep.
So that's what happened.
Okay.
What was kind of an odd thing, and I remember you questioned it, and I didn't realize what it was either, I thought it had nothing to do with us.
Okay, if you're done, I have a couple of questions for you.
Oh, no, on camera? Alright, right.
No, the other one, I wanted to talk about is I haven't heard any more on Josh Gray Road, 91 Josh Gray Road.
I haven't either, but that was pretty preliminary, that was the space in the
Okay.
back, right?
Yep.
Okay, yep,
Okay, and the other one was on that reed bent. I did not comment on that.
I do have something for Reed Bent, I didn't bring it in.
Right, but I'm just letting you know, I did not, what I commented on to Deb Shuttlesworth was the one on Webster Street.
Oh, okay,
Okay, so I did not.
isn't that here? Did I write
Yeah,
it?
yeah, did you read through it there? No,
Here it is,
there it is.
so this is not true.
It wasn't Deb, no, it was, but the comments we made that what we want from them,
Right,
but I did not, it was not Deb.
alright. Well, that was good. That's it?
That's it.
Well, it was easy. When someone says you have questions,
I'll think
you
of
know.
Hey, how about, okay, do you wanna tell them about, Bobby Joe, how's things going, or?
Oh, things are going really well, so she spent, 4 hours here Tuesday and Wednesday. And she entered receipts, which was easy for her, cause she's entered receipts before, even though that wasn't her main function, she's familiar with it, so she did well. We had a little problem reconciling, and all of her numbers kept on panning out, and I couldn't figure it out, so I said, let me look at the number from last week. 'Cause, you know, I checked them off as we reconcile. Well, my dyslexia must have kicked in, and I transposed 2 numbers, and that's why we couldn't tie her out, so it wasn't her, it was mine. I've taken her around, introduced everyone at the plant. She hasn't really set up her desk, yet, because we're going to have the town electrician come in. I spoke to Chuck about this. We need to run some Cat 6 cable wire to that office, and there's no phone connection for her. So they're gonna put in a computer connection and a phone connection, and her printer should be coming in next week. We already have the computer, we have the phone. Once the town electrician does that, we'll be good. So what happened was, in that same area, because we're sharing that space, there were a couple of other outlets that needed work, and they were gonna use the long-standing electrician that they've been using. His name is Andy. He's retiring and slowly giving his work over to someone else. So they were waiting on that process, and we can actually get the town electrician here quicker and get it done. So we're just gonna do a joint venture and have that work done. I don't have a price yet, but I mean, it has to get done. Gino threw out $2,000, but honestly, I just had some lights installed at home and it was a lot. So I think it might be a little bit more than $2,000, but we'll see.
I think it'll be more than 2.
When do we think we can get that work done?
Within 2 weeks,
Super.
yeah, so then.
And they're gonna do Chuck's office too, correct? Lauren, yeah.
I'm sorry, you're right. So in Chuck's office, it's, we have.
Chuck Amaral.
He's the repairs and maintenance person, so in his office is a box where all the connections go in, because they use some products that are the town's, and they use their own, so it's all tied together, and Gino's been monitoring that and upgrading their equipment. Well, the wiring situation is horrendous. There's
It's like spaghetti, it's only not the whole of
exactly like
spaghetti.
spaghetti. So we're gonna have the town electrician clean out all the extra wire, get it off of his desktop, put it up high on the wall and run the connections there. Right now, they drop down against the wall, they're gonna run everything through the wall, so it'll be a lot cleaner, and there won't be any interference. I mean, it's right on his desk when he's trying to work, so.
Do you wanna ask him, or has it been taken into consideration, the office next to Megan, the space next to Megan, any wiring's gonna be done in there for future?
No wiring in there. That's
Right.
really not an office, it's kinda like a
Storage.
utility storage, yeah, and they're working on cleaning that out. So they came across some records that were town records, in filing cabinets. And honestly, I don't have the time or the inclination to look through those, so I
Don't
told
worry
them to
about it.
just preserve them and move them into the other room, and if we ever get a superintendent, they can handle that.
Okay.
That's a lot of old plant information and stuff.
What else?
And that's it.
Going quick, we're gonna be 3:30,
Okay.
yeah, baby.
That almost lost me a couple of times.
Almost lost you, yeah. Wouldn't take long. Alright, thanks, Robin. Next, what I want to, okay, we got with the INI. Okay, I met with Doug a couple of weeks ago, and things went good, but just give a general update, on the INI repair work and on the, some other stuff. And he wanted to bring up, he brought up if I'd be willing to meet with the Board of Selectmen. I said I have no problem with that, I think it would be good to give them an update, but I wanna speak to real numbers. So what we've done is I felt that I'd have the real numbers by September 5th. So September 5th, I'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation at the Board of Selectmen meeting. If either one of you would like to join me, you let me know and I can post it as a meeting, if that's that.
I'd like to go up there.
Yeah.
The other thing is I wanna discuss, and I do not wanna read anything into the minutes, is that, I received an email from Dave Taylor on the MS4 program. The email was, Robin, can you forward a copy to the board members for all MS4 contracts with environmental partners? Can you forward a copy to the board members of all MS4 contracts with environmental partners? Oh, this is from me to Robin, so we know where we are. Well, we can't find the MS4 program, MS4 contracts. I received a letter from David that I don't wanna read into the record now, nothing wrong, but I think the board should have time to digest that letter. And with you, I gave each of you, had Robin print you copies of all the emails. I had to go back as far as 2016 for any reference to drainage or MS4.
MS4 is drainage, right?
MS4 is the stormwater management program. The stormwater management program, by the EPA is that, it's the responsibility of the sewer department in all. So he had made some statements that, I think you each have a copy of the letter. All right, what I wanna hand to you, I'm gonna give each of you, and again, before I gave you this letter, I wanted to make sure you have a chance to read the emails and try to follow along with it. And I've given what I'd like to do, and I think we owe him a response. I prepared response number 1. And you'll see on another page that I highlighted, if you turn to the second page. See how I highlighted that section? Okay, the next page.
Yes,
That is my option 2, to replace that first section with.
okay.
Now, when you go through this email, I want you to,
This option
this option and
to
that one.
replace that.
And then I need your feedback on which one you wanna use.
Okay.
I wanna keep in mind things are starting to look extremely well here at the sewer department. Functioning wise, and technically wise. I received a letter dated July 7th I wanna make sure that I've taken it in the proper perspective. So I wasn't really sure, so which is why I wanted to give you those emails to read. You have his email. I want you to form your own thoughts, and I want you to look at my responses to that email. Either way, that email is gonna be read into that letter is gonna be read into the record next Wednesday night, Wednesday afternoon, at our monthly meeting, as well as a response. Now, you form your own thoughts, you form your own, make your own opinion. I'm looking at it that we've been through too much bullshit to go backwards. I mean, I think I'm having an open rapport with Doug Lapp right now. I have not spoken with Michael Rockland. Nor have I really spoken with Dave Taylor. But we've got a job to do. We're elected officials in the town. We've got to work together. And the governing document, no matter how people's feelings are the bylaws and the charter. Period. If we're gonna deviate from the bylaws of the charter, there's a means to do that, and that's town meeting. So that's all I wanna say to that. But please read through that. Please read through it good, and which is why I took the time to go through those emails. I came on the board at 17, and they were in discussions of drainage and MS4. But the sewer commission is now the drainage commission. There's no question on that. So please look through that. If you can let me know and now this is not violation of any open meeting because we've discussed it. So I want you to read my letter. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know which option you feel is most appropriate. And I'll read that response into the record Wednesday. Or if you want more time, we can do it at a working session.
The 10th, I have a doctor's appointment next month.
All right, no, don't worry about it. We'll put it the next one. We can jab you right in.
I think in regards to the open meeting law, our thoughts and decisions on these should be brought up in public session rather than through email.
Okay,
That's all.
good point. Would you be open to a very fast working session next Tuesday?
Sure.
How fast? I wanna make sure I get my napkin.
How fast it takes to select an option and decide which way to go.
Just to talk about this, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just think email could be problematic.
Okay, yeah, and I agree with you. Like I said, I'm still feeling my way through that.
Oh, get out. Good times. Check in here? Yep.
So, no, I think that's a good point taken, and if you guys can get together with me I'll put out at Ken, we don't have time. They're closed tomorrow and
Who's closed tomorrow?
come home.
So, Monday.
Okay, I'll tell you what, we have a working session a half hour before the regular meeting on Wednesday.
Sure.
I'll put it on the agenda that we're gonna have a working session at 2:30. Our meeting's at 3:30.
Yes.
I'll put our working session at 3.
Okay.
With that, Sherry, you owe us an update on accounting.
No, update on the phone.
Man, I gotta run and read it. You know, I couldn't download this on my computer.
Yeah, but send it to both guys. You gotta speak with Gino about getting, you wanna table that next week too?
So Doug talked about the retained earnings,
Oh, yes.
and he talked about that we should maintain a retained earnings balance of 500,000. Based on that, we do have additional funds of 275 that we could potentially request at special town meeting
Right.
for I&I.
My fear on that is this. The generator. The generator, we have a 55-week lead time. I have and Rick shares this concern with me, that I don't think that is going to last. We did not budget for rental for a generator, and we did not budget for heat for the digester piping,
Yes.
in case we need it.
So, go ahead.
I got a question for you. You made an in on the National Guard there, the guy
Oh,
to serve you.
Yeah.
can we come back to that?
Yeah, let's go back to that. That's got nothing to do with this.
So, as regards the emergency, we have budgeted emergency funds of 66,000 that you can access immediately. To use the retained earnings, you really can't access those except through vote by town meeting. So
Okay.
you could not spend them, but you don't really have them for this emergency, other than letting the whole budget go negative and
Then hit the retained
then
earnings.
hitting,
Well,
funding it that way.
I would
Yeah.
rather not, because again, when I was thinking about I&I,
Yeah.
I think we're in fairly
I
comfortable
think we're in
spot.
good shape.
So I would not, at this time, this is mine, this is a group decision.
Um,
I would not hit retained earnings for I&I at this point. He was looking at it to hopefully bring in a couple more developers.
I wouldn't do that. The other piece to it is, we are following the plan set out with our rate study, and we've been increasing rates, but part of that plan is to be able to bank in the retained earnings
Right,
to fund these future plant upgrade expenses.
correct.
So if you start drawing off it now for something
We're
like
hurting,
this,
we're hurting the rate study.
you're not following that plan
Right.
anymore, so.
That's why, like I said, I
those-
wanted to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking into things like the generator and the digester pipe.
Yeah.
I would say, I would not put an article in for town meeting for I&I.
No, I don't think we need it, and I will put together some concrete information on what we have for I&I funds available. I'll have that for next
I would break
week.
it up to hard funds and
Mhm.
potential.
I can put that together for next week.
Because what I don't wanna do, again, I don't wanna be blinded and give people the perception that we have a whole ton of I&I money. I wanna follow that I&I control plan to the letter,
Well, we
at
may,
least to FY 25.
we may have some money, but we've got a lot of I&I out there that we need to take care of, so
Right,
we're
but I
not
don't want,
ahead of the game by any
right, what I
means.
don't want people thinking is, okay, there's a
No.
whole bunch of I&I out there, and then we got the money to go after it now, let them in.
Yeah, no,
Okay, the other last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was, I got an email from David on some street work that's going to be done. And they need, manhole, decisions on manholes, whether they should be replaced or not. He had done that in the past, but he wants sewer to do that. I may have, if Rick can't, I talked to Rick this morning, if he can't send a body in, I'm just gonna have Pat Brennan accompany him. It's nothing that's gotta be done in any length of time.
okay.
Make a
Is
decision on
there-
whether a manhole should be replaced or not.
Whereabouts?
All over town. I'll send you a copy of the.
So is that a cost to the sewer department? Just don't
It's
understand. I don't
just
understand this
decisions,
whole thing.
decisions.
Okay.
Should we replace it? We've got 6 manholes, in reserve here that we can use. There's a 1-year lead time on them, a 12-week lead time on them. But all of them may need to be repaired, but he wants someone there to say, yeah, it needs to be repaired. No, it doesn't. He was making that decision in the past,
Yeah,
but now it's a sewer decision.
okay, all right. Before we,
Someone moving in?
Oh, yeah, looks,
We can't
Go
look
ahead.
at Brown.
we had talked I believe it was last meeting, we had to correct an error on the fee schedule,
yes.
and that is the new, and I just want
Yeah.
another set of eyes.
No, I saw that. That's,
I
that looks
okayed
like, that to me, I'm happy with that.
And then we had talked about the wait list, and we needed to move, in May, we approved one that just
Okay.
needs to be bumped up, and what I'd like to do is give this to Robin for posting.
Sure.
Cause this is not posted, this is still shown down as pending.
Oh, no, it's posted.
Okay,
She's also gonna request, I think, you're gonna see Manzella moving too,
alright,
but no, definitely do that one.
okay.
That's his first project, right?
Yeah,
The single family?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, yep.
no. Mandela,
No, I'm talking to when you wanna bump up.
48, yes, that's a duplex, 4 bedrooms.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We
good.
approved that in
Yeah,
May 31st.
that's
Just-
on.
We're
Yep.
keeping with the show. I had something from Weston and Sampson. And it was about the townwide hydraulic modeling. Did we discuss that?
Yes, no, here's, okay, I was thinking ahead, like I said, I've got a bad habit of thinking down the road. If Rockland was to pursue, a secondary treatment system, the smart way to go about it would be to do they've never had a hydraulic model in town.
Mhm.
Hydraulic model takes all your groundwater information and you're able to project what if scenarios. And it would help, if we were ever to do a secondary, facility, you'd need that done. We have a lot of the data now in the metering study. And I said, okay, if I wanted to do that hydraulic model now, would it be beneficial to do it now? What would it cost? And that's what that's what it is. I definitely wanna hold off on it. There's absolutely
Okay.
no rush. What that was just for me to think that if we had to alter the financial plan, and I would say in FY '25, FY '26,
Alright.
that's when that would take place.
Okay,
But I didn't have
okay. Because I saw
any
that.
numbers to.
I saw
to-
that number and
Yeah,
freaked
no.
out.
No,
Okay.
no, I know that, but that was just for me, so I was looking like, say the base did come in, that would need to be done, that'd be something to palm off on them. But if we didn't, and we decided that we absolutely maxed out, we need one, I'd need a hydraulic model done, what would it cost, and that wouldn't hit till the FY '28, whatever, but I needed to have some number to keep me busy.
Yeah.
And it was just to keep my mind busy.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm not planning any big attacks. No, I mean, I'm psyched, we have a really good game plan.
We just need the time to work through it.
Exit.
Yeah.
Well, the plan's there, I think the funding is there, and now it's just execution.
So to Dan's question, did we hear back from,
No, Rick
Ches?
put in a call to, the gentleman again, Shay, and Violi was gonna contact him. Matter of fact, when I say that, I had a conversation with Rick today, not thinking of that, on staffing. That, a scenario that I'm playing through in my mind. And it revolves around the superintendent's position, the facility, and the collection system, but no, he didn't bring up anything if he's heard any more on them or not.
Yeah, have we had any movement on interns with North?
That is my problem, I did not pursue that. I tried to doing it, I made one call, but everyone was caught up between the end of the college year,
Yeah. it's been-
graduations, and vacations, so I said, okay, I'm gonna table that till August.
Okay.
I was just playing phone tag and getting nowhere.
And another thing, could you get, just in case, this generator goes down? The National Guard, they must have spare generators.
Well, right now, it's that, you only get that in case mass emergency.
Yeah, I mean, but we do have emergency, that
But if it
generator
goes
goes down.
down, is that?
If that goes down, we've already got a contingency to plan to rent one.
That's if you can get one.
We get, no, if we can get one, right, but, you know, it's, think of where we are in the totem pole, someone's gonna have to speak, someone speaks first.
I mean, you look at the guy down there at Hingham Street, the Dunkin' Donut, he's been waiting over a year for a generator.
I know, the lead time on the generator now is 55 to 60 weeks, and that we're using to purchase that generator, that's going out to bid. We're using a special, I forget the name of the program, that's a nationally recognized buying program that's gonna cut our lead time to 52 weeks, and also we're gonna get it at a cheaper cost. Doug's approved it, we've got worked everything through opera, So all that paperwork is taken care of, and Matt is supposedly publishing that either tomorrow or Monday.
Who's got the paperwork, Doug?
Doug does. I'll send you out the form. I even forget the name of the kid. Some kind, matter of fact, I sent an email out to have the program flyer sent to Megan and Rick and Robin. I'll add you two guys to it as well, because I don't even have my flyer on it now. I lost it. Oh, I forget the name of the buying program. So if that's it, Jack, you got any comment, public comment?
Going back to Harmon Golf, I had a conversation with, I believe it's one of the owners several years ago. And when they developed the golf course, the town gave them certain approvals to move forward with their condominium development. I don't know if that included sewer.
Nope,
Or
does
not.
not include sewer.
Okay, but I'm just telling you, they have some type of written agreement.
If they have some kind of written agreement, it did not, I can tell you for a fact, I've been on it since they even discussed that, it didn't come before the Board of Sewer Commissioners.
Okay,
If it's not in front of the Board of Sewer, I had them in for a CWMP update a few months back, and they never mentioned anything. They were aware of the moratorium.
okay, I'm just mentioning it because I know agreements have been made by certain town officials at a point in time, and you guys get caught short. on
They
that.
didn't make it with us.
Okay, now, also during the presentation of Union Point at the Board of Selectmen meeting, with regards to the water, and I don't know if sewer would be involved in this, they said the SRA and the city of Weymouth was going forward and putting the application in for the MWRA
They
water. Okay, does that put Rockland on the hook?
No.
Because it's the SRA,
No,
which is Rockland, Abington, and Weymouth?
no, Weymouth has already made it quite clear that it's only for Weymouth side of the base.
Okay, but the fact that the SRA, and we're part of the group, and they're part of the agreement, is that? it
As
doesn't-
far as I know, no, they haven't mentioned it to us, so.
Okay, because it could legally bind
That
Rockland.
may come down to, no, they were flat, they were very adamant about the, when I had that meeting with them on the 5th, that, we'd be responsible for our own sewer and water.
No, I understand that, but legally, financially, is the town responsible?
I don't know,
Because
that's.
we're a
their-
member of
that's
the
their
SRA.
agreement. That's above my pay scale,
I would think legally we would be,
it's above my pay scale,
and that's a major potential liability and cost.
it's above my pay scale, and
Okay.
again, I want nothing to do with the MWRA.
I agree with you, okay, but, you know, they're on the hook, that's the only way they're gonna solve their problem.
To me, it seems,
You're just building every place over there.
let's end the meeting, I'll give my personal opinion.
They've,
I'll take a motion to end today's meeting,
make a motion.
do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor, Mr. DeRoss?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
yes.
And Charles is a yes, and not unanimous, end the meeting.